You don't grow by doing what's easy. You grow by doing what scares you into becoming more. I know you're tired. I know you've been carrying dreams that feel heavier than your hands can hold. And I know sometimes you convince yourself you're not ready, not smart enough, not strong enough, not chosen enough. But let me tell you something that changed my life. Your brain is always negotiating with your potential, and most days, it chooses comfort over courage, unless you choose differently. Today, I want to share 7 lessons that taught me how to discipline the mind, break my own limits, and walk into rooms I once prayed just to peek into. Let's begin. Your mind follows the loudest voice, and for most of us, that voice isn't our own. It's the echo of someone who doubted us years ago. It's the memory of a moment we failed. It's the quiet, steady rumble of fear that tells us to stay small, stay safe, stay unseen. The world around us speaks constantly, and it doesn't whisper, it shouts, it demands, it nags, it tells you who you should be, how fast you should grow, what you should fear, and what you should avoid. And if you let those voices sit in the front row of your life, they will run every decision you make. They will convince you to give up before you even begin. They will drown out your truth. But here's the part no one teaches us. Your inner voice is not born loud. It becomes loud because you choose to turn up its volume every single day. It becomes loud because you stop outsourcing your self-worth. It becomes loud because you stop letting the world narrate your story and you start narrating it yourself. And that is a discipline, not a talent, not an accident. A discipline you build slowly, deliberately, gently, one moment at a time. There was a time in my own life when I let every external noise dictate how I felt. One criticism could shatter me. One rejection could convince me I wasn't enough. One mistake could make me question whether I deserve my dreams at all. It's a painful way to live, because you're always reacting, always adjusting, always shrinking or swelling based on who approves of you that day. But then I realized something that changed everything. If you don't trust your own voice, the world will always control your destiny. And I wasn't born to live under someone else's expectations. Neither were you. The shift didn't happen overnight. It began with small conversations with myself. Honest, uncomfortable conversations. I asked, what if I'm stronger than I think? What if the fear I feel is really just a sign that I'm growing? What if the world is not against me but preparing me? These questions didn't remove the doubt, but they started something important. They made my voice a contender. They made my spirit rise to the surface. And every time I chose that voice, even when it was shaking, even when it was unsure, it grew louder. Your brain listens to repetition more than anything else. It doesn't care if the repetition is positive or negative. It simply absorbs what it hears the most. If you repeatedly tell yourself that you're not ready, your brain accepts it as truth. If you repeatedly tell yourself that you're unworthy, your brain builds pathways that confirm it. But when you speak strength into yourself, even quietly, your brain begins to rewire. Not with magic, with consistency. Speak to yourself the way you wish the world would speak to you. Speak with grace, speak with courage, speak with expectation. When you wake up in the morning, don't let the first voice in your head be fear. Before the world gets to talk, let your soul speak first. Remind yourself who you are, who you're becoming, what you're capable of, what you refuse to surrender. Your mind is always listening. Feed it truth. And understand this, your voice won't become louder by accident. You must choose it over and over again. You must practice believing in yourself the way an athlete practices a skill. You must protect your inner world from anyone who tries to distort it. Not everyone gets access to your mind. Not everyone gets a seat in your spiritual space. Some people's opinions are too heavy, too careless, too rooted in their own fears. You can love people and still not let their doubts guide your decisions. When your voice becomes the loudest one in your life, something extraordinary happens. The world stops intimidating you. Opportunities stop feeling like threats. Hard things stop feeling impossible. You start moving differently. You start choosing differently. You start living from a place of clarity instead of confusion, purpose instead of pressure, faith instead of fear. And slowly, beautifully, your life begins to reflect the strength of the voice within you. There is a simple truth most people run from. If it doesn't challenge you, it won't change you. Growth was never meant to be gentle. It's not soft, not smooth, not predictable. It comes with tension, it comes with pressure. It comes with moments that stretch you so far beyond your comfort that you barely recognize the person you were yesterday. And that's the point. Your mind is designed to resist this process. It craves familiarity, repetition, safety. It loves the places where nothing is at risk and nothing is uncertain. But in those places, nothing transforms. Every time you step towards something unfamiliar, your brain fires warnings. It tells you, stop, turn around, this is dangerous. But most of the time, it isn't danger you're feeling, it's expansion. It's the discomfort of a mind that's being asked to evolve. It's the stretching of your capacity. It's the friction between who you've been and who you're becoming. And if you don't understand that difference, you'll mistake every opportunity for a threat. You'll think every big dream is too heavy to hold. You'll believe every new beginning is too risky to take. I remember moments in my life when the challenge felt unbearable, when the pressure felt like it would break me, when I questioned whether I was built for the path I had chosen. But here's what I learned every single time. Discomfort is not your enemy. It is the sculptor that shapes your strength. It is the teacher that prepares you for the next chapter. It is the force that reveals capabilities you didn't know you had. Growth asks for discomfort the same way fire asks for heat. You cannot separate the two. Think about a seed. Before it becomes anything beautiful, it must break. It must push through layers of darkness and soil. It must struggle upward, even when there is no light in sight. It doesn't question whether it's capable. It doesn't doubt the design placed inside it. It simply pushes. And eventually, the push becomes a sprout. The sprout becomes a stem. The stem becomes something living, breathing, thriving. That entire journey is powered by struggle, not ease, not comfort, struggle. You are no different. The challenges in your life are not punishments. They are invitations to rise. When you feel resistance, it's not a sign to give up. It's a sign you're moving towards something meaningful. Your brain wants the easy route because the easy route doesn't require energy. But your destiny demands a different level of energy. It demands focus, resilience, courage, and those qualities are not built in peace. They are built in the friction between desire and doubt, fear and faith. And here's the beauty of challenge. Every time you face something hard and choose to keep going, you teach your brain a new possibility. You show it that fear is not fatal. You show it that effort can carry you farther than talent. You show it that you are capable of more than you've been settling for. And slowly, the part of you that once wanted to run begins to trust the part of you that wants to grow. This is why you must seek the hard things. Not because suffering is noble, but because challenge is transformational. When you lift a weight, your muscles tear a little, they rebuild stronger. The same thing happens inside your mind. Every challenge tears away a piece of your old identity. That tearing hurts, it's supposed to. But when you heal stronger, more grounded, more secure, more aligned with the highest version of yourself. The people who achieve extraordinary things are not the ones who never feel fear. They are the ones who don't run from it. They feel the discomfort and move anyway. They lean into the moments that stretch them. They understand that every breakthrough begins with a breaking point. They know that courage does not live in comfort. It lives in difficulty. And if you want to become someone extraordinary, you must make peace with the parts of the journey that feel awkward, painful, uncertain. You must learn to see challenge not as an obstacle, but as a sign that you are walking the right path. Because the path that grows you will never be the easy one. It will be the one that asks for more than you think you have, and then reveals that you always had it inside you. And when you finally look back, you'll realize something powerful. The moments that changed you the most were never the easy ones. They were the ones that forced you to rise. Discipline is choosing who you want to become over what you feel right now. And that choice is one of the hardest choices you will ever make. Because feelings are powerful, feelings are loud, feelings demand attention in a way that purpose never does. Purpose whispers, purpose waits, purpose is patient, but feelings Feelings can scream. They can tell you you're tired, you're overwhelmed, you're unprepared. They can convince you to walk away from the very thing you prayed for. That is why discipline matters. Discipline is the quiet force that holds your life together when motivation disappears. There have been days in my own journey when I felt completely empty. Days when I did not want to show up. Days when the world felt too heavy and my heart felt too tired. But discipline taught me something motivation never could. You don't need to feel ready to take the next step. You just need to take it. One step, one action, one moment of choosing commitment over emotion. And with every step, your brain begins to understand something important. You are not led by your feelings, you are led by your principles. Discipline is not about perfection. It's not about waking up every day in a surge of inspiration. It's not about never having doubts. It's about consistency. It's about honoring the promises you make to yourself even when no one is watching. Because that is where your self-respect is built. In the silent, unseen moments when you choose the work instead of the excuse, when you choose growth instead of comfort, when you choose the future instead of the temporary ease of the present. And let me tell you something, the world doesn't say enough. Discipline is a form of love. It is self-love expressed not through indulgence but through intention. It's telling yourself, I deserve a life I'm proud of, and then showing up to build it. It's choosing the harder road because the harder road leads to who you're meant to be. It's refusing to abandon yourself. Even when the path feels long and the reward feels distant, when you practice discipline long enough, something incredible happens. Your brain starts to trust you, and that trust is powerful. Trust becomes confidence. Confidence becomes courage. Courage becomes identity. You start seeing yourself differently. You walk differently. You speak differently. You no longer question whether you can handle pressure. You know you can because you've proven it to yourself again and again in the smallest, quietest ways. But so many people never reach this moment because they quit too early. They believe discipline is supposed to feel good. They believe it's supposed to come naturally. But discipline is built like a muscle, slowly, painfully, repeatedly. The first time you choose work over comfort, your mind resists. The second time, your mind complains. The third time, it negotiates. But the 10th time, the 20th time, the 30th time, your mind starts to follow you instead of fight you. You retrain the way you think. You restructure the way you respond. You reshape the way you live. And here's the truth. The difference between who you are and who you want to be is hidden in your daily decisions. Not the big moments, not the glamorous moments, not the victories everyone celebrates. It's hidden in the ordinary moments. The mornings you get up when you don't want to, the days you choose focus when distraction feels easier, the nights you push a little further instead of giving up. Those moments determine your destiny far more than talent, luck, or opportunity. Will discipline require sacrifice? Yes. It requires discomfort. It requires saying no to things that feel good now so you can say yes to a life that will feel incredible later. But the reward is worth every moment of struggle. Because the moment discipline settles into your spirit, chaos loses its power. Fear loses its grip. Laziness loses its voice. You become the kind of person who doesn't wait for the right time. You create the right time. And slowly, without even realizing it, you become someone unshakable, someone consistent, someone reliable, someone who can carry their dreams without collapsing under the weight of them, someone who doesn't need perfect conditions to begin, someone who builds a life not from convenience but from commitment. In the end, discipline gives you something no feeling ever could, the ability to trust yourself with your own future. And when you can trust yourself, every dream becomes possible. Fear has a way of convincing you that it is a wall, when really it is only a doorway. But most people never walk close enough to see the difference. They feel fear rise in their chest, the tightness, the uncertainty, the doubt, and they take it as a sign to turn around. They assume fear means stop. Fear means danger. Fear means this is not for you. But fear is almost never a stop sign. Fear is a compass. It points directly toward the places that hold your growth, your healing, your expansion, your purpose. And if you learn to walk toward it instead of around it, your entire life begins to shift. I've learned something about fear. It is loudest right before a breakthrough. It gets louder because it senses transformation coming. It senses change. It senses evolution. Fear wants you to stay the same because sameness is predictable, and predictable feels safe. But safe is not where your destiny lives. Safe keeps you small. Safe keeps you hidden. Safe keeps you pretending you don't want the things you deeply, quietly, desperately want. There were moments in my life when fear felt like a shadow I couldn't outrun. Opportunities would appear, and instead of feeling excited, I would feel overwhelmed. What if I mess up? What if people judge me? What if I'm not good enough? What if I fail publicly? Fear always asks the same questions, and they all point to the same place, a life lived in hesitation. But I started to realize that running from fear didn't make it disappear. It only made it grow. Fear expands in the spaces where you shrink. It gains power in the moments you avoid. The more you tiptoe around it, the more it follows you. But when you take one brave step toward it, something almost magical happens. Fear shifts. It gets smaller. It loses its grip. It becomes less of a monster and more of a mirror, showing you exactly where you need to grow. That first step doesn't feel heroic. It feels shaky, uncertain, humbling. But growth often feels like that. The strength comes later, the clarity comes later, the confidence comes later. The only requirement in the beginning is movement, even if it's slow, even if it's imperfect, even if your voice is trembling. What most people don't realize is that fear is not a barrier, it is an initiation. Life tests you before it blesses you. It wants to know how badly do you want this, how willing are you to stretch, how committed are you to becoming the person your dreams require you to be. Fear becomes the threshold you must cross to step into a higher version of yourself. And every time you cross it, you grow a little more. You shed an old identity. You expand your capacity. You prove to yourself that courage is not about being fearless, it's about being willing. When you finally face fear head on, you begin to understand that the real danger was never the challenge itself. The real danger was the life you would live if you let fear make your decisions for you. A life of what ifs, a life of missed chances, a life of half-lived dreams and silent regrets. And I don't know about you, but I would rather walk into the unknown than spend my days wondering who I could have become if I had just been a little braver. There is a strength inside you that you won't meet until fear introduces you to it. Fear brings you to the edge. Courage carries you across. But you can't access courage unless you're willing to meet fear face to face. You can't grow from the sidelines. You can't evolve from the shadows. At some point, you have to step into the light, even if your hands are shaking. And here's the truth. Most people forget, fear doesn't mean you're not ready. Fear means you're human. Fear means you care. Fear means you're standing at the doorway of something meaningful. Everyone feels fear. The ones who rise are simply the ones who walk anyway. They don't wait for the fear to leave, they move with it. They carry it. They breathe through it. And somewhere along the way, fear stops being the enemy. It becomes the reminder that you're on the right path. There will always be fear, but there will also always be a choice. Run from it or rise through it. And when you choose to rise, your entire life rises with you. Your focus is the most valuable thing you own, and yet it's the thing the world tries to steal from you every single day. Not with violence, not with force, but with noise, with distraction, with people who don't understand your vision, with expectations that were never meant for you, with opinions that sound confident but have nothing to do with your calling. If you are not careful, your mind becomes a crowded room where everyone's voice is louder than your own, and that is how dreams die. Quietly, slowly, unnoticed, buried beneath interruptions and unnecessary noise. I learned early in life that focus isn't something you find. Focus is something you protect. It's something you defend. It's something you guard with intention because your future depends on it. You cannot build anything meaningful if your mind is scattered in 100 different directions. You cannot walk toward purpose if you're constantly pulled back by distraction. And you cannot hear divine guidance when you're surrounded by chaos. The world we live in rewards urgency, not clarity. It rewards noise, not wisdom. It rewards speed, not depth. But greatness is never loud in the beginning. Greatness is crafted in quiet rooms, in isolated hours, in moments when no one praises you, no one sees you, no one validates you. That is where you learn who you are. That is where you develop the discipline to stay committed, even when the world tries to pull you away from yourself. There was a time when I said yes to everything. Every request, every plan, every expectation placed on me. I didn't want to disappoint anyone. I didn't want to seem unavailable or ungrateful. But in the process, I disappointed myself. I became available to everything except my own growth. I became reliable to everyone except my own dreams. And one day, I realized something painful. You cannot carry your future if you are weighed down by everyone else's priorities. Focus requires boundaries. And boundaries are an act of respect for yourself, your time, your purpose, your destiny. Some people will not like your boundaries. Some people will feel offended when they no longer have unlimited access to your energy. Let them be offended. Your future is too important, too sacred, too heavy to be built on the approval of those who don't understand where you're going. Protecting your focus also means protecting your environment. The people around you shape your thoughts more than you realize. There are people who drain your clarity with their negativity, people who distract you with their chaos, people who love you but have no vision for themselves, and because they have no vision, they cannot support yours. You don't need to cut them out, but you do need to limit how close you let them stand to your dreams. Surround yourself with people who speak life into you, people who remind you of discipline, people who encourage your growth, people who don't get intimidated by your ambition but feel inspired by it, people who hold you accountable to the highest version of yourself. These are the people who keep your focus aligned when the world tries to shake it. And remember this, distraction doesn't always come in the form of something obviously harmful. Sometimes the biggest distractions are disguised as good opportunities, things that feel exciting but pull you away from what's essential. Not everything that glitters is aligned with your purpose. Not everything that feels urgent deserves your energy. One of the most powerful things you will ever learn is how to say no to the wrong things so you can say yes to the right ones. Focus is a spiritual practice. It demands stillness. It demands intention. It demands that you get quiet enough to hear your own intuition. Every time you choose focus over distraction, you strengthen the connection between you and your purpose. Every time you choose depth over noise, your mind becomes sharper. Every time you choose discipline over instant gratification, your future becomes clearer. And slowly, the world's noise loses its authority over you. You stop reacting to everything. You stop chasing everything. You stop allowing every passing thought or opinion to influence your path. Your energy becomes precise. Your mind becomes stronger. Your purpose becomes louder. And in that stillness, that clarity, that fierce protection of your focus, you find yourself. You find your voice. You find the direction you were meant to walk. Because when your focus is protected, your destiny becomes unstoppable. We live in a world obsessed with big gestures, big breakthroughs, big moments. But the truth is, life doesn't change in the big moments. Life changes in the small ones, the tiny, consistent choices you make when no one is watching, the everyday decisions that seem insignificant but quietly build the foundation of everything you become. Most people never understand this. They wait for the perfect day to start, the perfect motivation, the perfect opportunity, the perfect feeling. But perfection is a myth. Waiting for the perfect moment is the fastest way to lose your future. I've seen people with extraordinary talent go nowhere because they only showed up when inspiration struck. And I've seen people with average talent build unbelievable lives simply because they were consistent. Because while others waited for motivation, they relied on commitment. While others chased passion, they practiced discipline. While others dreamed loudly, they worked quietly. And over time, quietly, steadily, persistently, they created something remarkable. Small, consistent efforts look unimpressive in the moment. They don't get applause, they don't feel dramatic, they don't feel like progress, but they are progress. They are everything. That 1 hour of focus, that 10 minutes of courage, that one healthier choice, that one boundary you kept, that one promise you honored. These small acts accumulate, and one day you look back and realize they built an entirely new version of you. The difference between people who rise and people who stay stuck isn't luck. It isn't intelligence, it isn't talent, it's consistency, the ability to keep showing up long after the excitement fades, the ability to stay committed long after the feeling is gone, the ability to choose discipline over distraction again and again, even when no one notices and no one claps. I remember a season in my life where everything felt stagnant, like I was moving but not moving forward. I wanted dramatic change, overnight change. But that's not how transformation works. Transformation is slow, it's subtle, it's hidden, it's repetitive, it grows in the quiet before it ever shows in the light. And honestly, that's the hardest part. Because in the beginning, consistency feels pointless. You do the work, but nothing seems to happen. You try again the next day and still nothing. No sign, no spark, no confirmation, just silence. But that silence is not failure, that silence is preparation. Your habits are building strength long before the results become visible. Your mind is rewiring long before you feel confident. Your spirit is expanding long before your circumstances change. That's why quitting early hurts so deeply, because you often walk away right before your breakthrough was ready to meet you. Small, consistent effort is also an act of faith. Faith that what you're doing matters, even when you can't see the evidence. Faith that the seed you planted will grow, even when the soil looks empty. Faith that the version of yourself you're building will thank you one day. Faith that the slow path is still the right path. And don't underestimate the power of momentum. When you're consistent, even in tiny ways, momentum begins to form. You may start with 5 minutes a day. 5 minutes turns into 10. 10 turns into 20. 20 becomes a habit. And a habit becomes a lifestyle. The brain loves patterns. The more you repeat something, the more natural it becomes. What once felt impossible eventually becomes automatic. And that is how you change your life. Not by doing everything at once, but by doing small things repeatedly until they become who you are. Consistency also teaches you patience. It teaches you resilience. It teaches you humility. It forces you to focus on the process instead of the outcome. It makes you rely on character, not emotion. And character will take you further than emotion ever could. There is nothing small about small steps. Each step tells the universe, I'm serious, I'm committed, I'm ready. And the universe responds to consistency more than intensity. Anyone can be intense for a moment. Few can be consistent for a season. But those who can, they become unstoppable. They build lives that look impossible from the outside. But on the inside, they know it was never magic. It was never luck. It was never one big moment. It was the accumulation of thousands of small ones. And this is your reminder. Don't underestimate the quiet work. Don't dismiss the small steps. Don't give up because the progress is invisible. Invisible does not mean insignificant. You are building something powerful, even if it doesn't look like it yet. Keep going, keep choosing, keep showing up. The small things you do every day are slowly, beautifully preparing you for the life you've been praying for. Faith is the fuel that carries you through the hard things, especially the ones you don't understand. There will be seasons in your life where logic will fail you, where the plan you created will crumble, where the doors you knocked on will stay shut, where you will pray for answers and hear nothing but silence. And in those moments, it's easy to believe you're alone. It's easy to think you're forgotten. It's easy to convince yourself that maybe your dream was too big, too unrealistic, too far out of reach. But faith whispers a different truth. A truth your heart recognizes even when your mind can't comprehend it. Faith reminds you that silence is not absence, delay is not denial, and struggle is not punishment. Faith teaches you that every unanswered question is shaping you. Every closed door is redirecting you. Every moment of discomfort is preparing you. Life is not working against you. It is working on you. And sometimes the work is invisible. Sometimes it is painful. Sometimes it is confusing. But if you look closely, you'll realize you are being strengthened in ways you don't yet understand. There were times I stood at the edge of my own uncertainty, wondering if I had the courage to keep going. Times when I felt unseen. Times when I felt overlooked. Times when I felt like the world was moving forward without me. But every single time, faith pulled me back to my center. Faith told me that my story wasn't over. that my purpose wasn't lost, that my path hadn't disappeared. It was simply unfolding in a way I couldn't see yet. Faith is not about knowing the whole journey. It's about trusting the next step. Because sometimes that's all you get. One step, one tiny moment of clarity, one nudge in your spirit, one whisper that says, keep walking. And if you follow that whisper long enough, you'll turn around one day and realize that every small step was guided. Every setback was shaping you. Every detour was necessary. We like to think we are in control, but the truth is control is an illusion. You don't control timing. You don't control outcomes. You don't control who stays or who leaves. What you control is your willingness to keep moving forward, even when you can't see the whole picture. That willingness, that surrender, is faith in its purest form. It is saying, I don't know how this will work out, but I believe it will. It is choosing trust over fear, patience over panic, surrender over struggle. Faith also teaches you to see purpose in the pain, not to minimize it, not to pretend it doesn't hurt, but to recognize that pain often breaks you open in the exact places where strength needs room to grow. Pain humbles you, it deepens you, it cleanses you from things you didn't realize were weakening you. It forces you to let go of what was never meant to stay. And in that uncomfortable space, that tender, sacred space where the old is leaving and the new hasn't arrived yet, faith sustains you. There is a version of you that can only be born in difficulty. The version of you that knows how to stand steady in storms. The version of you that doesn't shrink when life gets hard. The version of you that refuses to give up even when the odds are stacked against you. You don't meet that version of yourself in ease. You meet them in the fire, and faith is what carries you through that fire without losing yourself. And here's the miracle of faith. It doesn't just help you survive the hard things, it transforms you through them. It opens doors you didn't knock on. It aligns you with opportunities you didn't chase. It places people in your life you didn't expect. Faith moves in ways logic never could. Faith creates paths that weren't there. Faith lifts you when strength fails. Faith gives you hope on the days your heart feels heavy. And hope is not weak. Hope is the strongest force a human being can carry. One day, without even realizing it, you will step into a moment that makes every hardship worth it. A moment where clarity floods in. A moment where everything aligns. A moment where you finally understand why the path had to be difficult. And in that moment, you'll whisper to yourself, now I see it. Now I know why I had to hold on. Because faith never fails you. It simply asks you to keep walking long enough to witness the blessing waiting on the other side. In the end, remember this, life will not always move the way you expect, but it will always move the way you need. You were not created to live small, to walk in circles, or to let fear write your story. You were created with purpose in your breath, strength in your spirit, and destiny in your steps. So take the risk. Answer the calling. Walk the hard path. Trust the unseen hand guiding you. And when the world tries to convince you that you're not enough, lift your head and remind yourself of this truth. You were built for the mountains you're climbing. You were chosen for the battles you're fighting. And you are becoming the person you once prayed you could be. Go forward with faith. Go forward with courage. Go forward knowing that the same power that carried you through every dark night will carry you into every new beginning. The world is waiting for the light only you can give. Now rise and go become everything you were meant to be.